Wayne, thanks so much for joining us today. And before diving in, just would love for you to give a brief intro of who you are and then how you use interactive demos at Dropbox.
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, I'm part of the technical solutions here at Dropbox. Been at Dropbox for about 2.5 years. Time flies when you have fun. I was a former customer, but my background is actually in post-production. So I spent 20 plus years in post-production doing everything from live television through to animations. I've been on the content creation side for a very, very long time. The way we use Navattic within Dropbox is varied. It can be a sales-led motion, whether we see if a potential customer or a customer is interested or how far along the sales cycle we think they are, and how we share that out to them, or through to onboarding. So we might take that same content and then give it to an admin or a super user within a large organization or a user, and then see how and that can be an instructional video or a welcome video. And then also we use it as a definite user case. So if someone, and everyone learns differently. I don't use manuals. That's not how I learn. I'm a very tactile learner. And videos aren't for everyone because sometimes they may be looking for something, or the end user may be looking for something specific. Whereas in Navattic, you can actually go quite long, or you can actually get quite pointed and make shorter ones that may be those that chunk style of information learning that the end user wants to get. So rather than watching a 20-minute video, they go, oh, you know what, I want to look at this particular function on this particular software or process, and you can specific Navattic about that, and people can go and look at that specifically in 4 to 10 steps, and they're happy.
I'm the same way. I would never look at manuals. I think that my worst task would be assembling IKEA furniture, so definitely relate to that. Awesome. I know we talked a little bit before the call about like how many use cases you're using it for. I loved you were mentioning like the process that you kind of repurpose from one use case to the next. Do you mind walking through like how you go from idea for a demo to using it in CS, sales, across the funnel?
Yeah. As I mentioned before, I've done a lot of content creation, and videos are great because they're intuitive. You can make them really specific, and even though you're sharing it with a lot of people, video, even like this now, if we're on a Zoom call, it's a one-to-one interaction because people watch something as themselves. Even in a group, you're watching it as yourself, so it's a personalized way of doing stuff. But having said that, it can be quite long. So the way we use it is we make videos, content, obviously. When I go to make Navattic content, I don't start with the frame, I actually start with the idea. And it's almost like an animation approach where you actually have to have the script and everything in your head. So I'll start on an idea and I'll start writing stuff down. Now, whether that's just the brain dump of steps or whether that's the whole thing, and I will just step it out, and then I'll refine it, and then I'll refine it, and then I'll start refining the script. And then the script, from what I've learned, is, I remember the first one I did, I went from this like in-person, third-person sales pitch to a technical, and it was like, what the hell is like this really wandering story? So one of the tricky parts is actually to get your tone of voice right. You can use the same content and completely change the context, whether it's a hi, welcome to Dropbox and here's a solution, to hi, here's an instructional manual, or hi, hey, we've got a new product launch. Exactly the same stuff, and you just change the context of how you do that.
Once it gets approved by everyone and then everyone like agrees on copy, you just like to go in and start building and kind of just tweak live from there?
Again, it really depends on the audience. I'm very much of, sometimes can be just this never-ending merry-go-round, and so I'll tend to agree on the script or agree on the premise, agree on the storyline, and then I'll go and build it and present something that's either, rather than a blank piece of paper, you go, here's something. And they'll either go, you're brilliant, that's awesome, keep going, or that's completely wrong, but at least you've got something tangible that you can touch and go, this is wrong, or I like step 1 through to 10, or why is it 50 step? Like, it's something rather than just esoterical idea. I much prefer to get the ball rolling. I'm going to make something, and again, it's very much a pre-mortem idea or pre-mortem methodology that I specifically love to run. I don't want you to say yes to my idea. You to say no to everything before we make it. Everything we put up has to survive someone going, oh, I can't do that. Or how do we do? Should be taken apart in a practical, factual manner.
I love that, like, let's make sure everyone approves it before we go to the end state, because I think sometimes that building process is what can be scary for customers if I have to build it perfectly. But it's like, no, let's get the approval up front to make sure everyone agrees before necessarily feeling like the demo has to be 100% polished.
Yeah, and like I said before, with a video, you've got to make the entire thing. Unless you're doing a really long video and you've got scenes or chapters or whatever you want to call it, and then you can push them out, but you've still got to stitch the whole thing together at the end. You know, we might be making a 10-minute video and doing 5 minutes, and I'm doing 5 minutes, and someone else is doing 5 minutes, so there's 6 sections to it, and all of a sudden oh, I love it all, but to see it all, we've got to put it together, and you've got to watch through it, and you've got to listen to it. With a Navattic, you can share the link with people, or you can share the build as you go. I love steps 1 through 7 is awesome. Can I change 5? You don't have to pull the whole thing apart. You just have to go in and go, okay, do I need to go back to that web page? Do I need to go back to that screen grab source? Do I just need to tweak? So you can pull it apart in granular bits and pieces in a modular piece. Do your IKEA methodology before. I'm just going to change the drawers. I'm going to change, and then it's a much faster way to get there. Or I need to start again. It's fine because it's a lot faster process than making video and voiceovers and music and all the rest of the stuff that goes with it.
Is there anything you do in product to make demo building faster? Maybe create a template, then duplicate it? Like, imagine you're churning out a good amount of demos.
So what you can do is walk through the screen grabs, but again, your template is, okay, I've got a base of screen grabs across the product. Now I'm going to grab screen grab 1, 2, I don't need 3, 4, 5, and 10, and that's going to be my welcome. But then when I get into the technical, I'm going to use all 10. But then if I'm going to get into an onboarding, I might use 3 to 7. Same thing, you're not going back and remaking all the screen grabs.
I love that, like, plan it all up front or all the screens you need, because that's, again, something I've been guilty of. It's like, oh, I'll take just the screens that I think I need for this demo, but it's like, think about all the screens you could potentially need, and then plug and play for the different use cases.
Yeah, and that's back to my idea before of, yes, you want an end goal of what you're going to make, but sometimes it's just nice to just start down and just free thinking and free writing and just put everything out there and go, actually, you know what, this bunch of scribble over here, that's going to be a really good onboarding welcome message. This bunch of scribble over here, okay, I'm going to take that ideas, and that's going to be my admin console. So I just group it like that. But again, it's very much an animation process. You just don't start drawing. You've got to have an end story and an end world and an end thing you're going to build. Then you actually start writing the script. Creation of the stuff is way down the track once you've got everything nailed out.
Yeah, I feel like you've given a lot of great tips for someone familiar with Navattic if they're trying to build up more demos. Curious if there's someone brand new on your team who's never used Navattic before. Would you have any tips for like first places to start or just complete newbies?
First places to start. Yeah, I mean, just go and build for yourself without publishing it. Just actually start playing with it. I think that's the fastest way to do it. And then when you think you've done it all, and I've been guilty of this 1,000 times, you go, this is perfect. And then you hit preview and step yourself through it and go, oh, I want to go, oh, I can't, oh, damn. And then you go back and tweak it. So again, it's a much faster turnaround process than video because again, if you're making a 2-minute video, you've got to edit it all, do it. Then you've got to render it out. Then you've got to watch it, getting really pedantic around like beacon buttons and areas and stuff like that. So you just play with it. And it does autosave, which is great because people are guilty of not saving their stuff. So I do like the fact when you do stuff, it'll update and autosave, which is really cool. So it saves you from pulling your hair out when you've 15 hours worth of work and forgot to press save at some point.
Cool. Well, this was so insightful, Wayne. And thank you just so much for sharing your insights.
Easy peasy.